From Stats for Lefties on X, projection suggests leftist Leanne, can't say that name. We'll call her Aisha, after the 7-year-old wife of the bloke she's really named for. Aisha would defeat Wes Streeting by a landslide margin. Independent, 41%, plus 9. Labour, down 14% to 19. Cons on 21 and the Greens on 6. This is a fascinating page, fascinating page. The cognitive dissonance on display here is staggering. Stats for lefties. Lefties. Let me ask you something. If someone like Aisha there was to fill out a political compass, on what side of it do you think she'd fall? Because I'll give you a clue. Very, 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 very devout religious people, okay, generally are thought of as being quite conservative. But because the victim pyramid has been stacked the way it has, the modern left, woke, basically mentally ill, the modern left genuinely seem to think they have an ally with the most conservative people on planet Earth. Or what, do you think Grand Ayatollah Ali Sistani's going to vote for the Greens, do you? He's well on board with the feminist agenda. Here's another good one. Projections suggest Disability Minister Stephen Timms would lose East Ham to a leftist independent. Full disclosure, I haven't researched this, right? I'm going out on a limb here. This video, I'm going to look into the background of whoever the leftist independent currently standing against Stephen Timms. I'm going to look into the background of this leftist independent and we'll see how leftist the independent really is, shall we? But before we get started, I'm going to go with my gut. I'm going to hazard a guess that this leftist independent, if, I don't know, happened to be invited to a rooftop meeting in London with Owen Jones and several other Guardian writers, is less likely to come to an accord with them and more likely to lash Owen Jones's hands to his feet and then hoy him over the side of said building. Right then, so I've put my money where my mouth is. Let's get into it, shall we? Stats for Lefties are pointing out that the Disability Minister Stephen Timms would possibly lose his East Ham seat to a leftist independent. Their words, not mine. If we have a quick look at Stephen Timms' Wikipedia page, Christ on a bike, look at the clip of Stephen Timms. It's like a bad caricature of a gibbering inbred simpleton from, well, simpler times, really. Victorian dad. I'll tell you what, after seeing this picture, I'm embarrassed that we ever mocked Alan's lads for frequently rattling the cousins, because there's no way Stephen Timms, with his hairy clacker and that weird carbuncle swinging off his chin, there's no way he's not a result of Daddy snuggling up to his relatives a little bit too closely. Anyway, Sir Stephen is a Labour MP who's been an MP for East Ham since 1994. And who's the independent, the left-wing socialist independent that's trying to oust him? Aha! It's Tahir Mirza. Definitely left-wing. You can tell. Rosie Pierce sounds left-wing. They're always called Rosie, aren't they? And they do yoga and they like TikTok. And they pay to go on long holidays to places like Bali, where they get taught how to breathe by beardy weirdies and pay good money to realign their chakras or some such bollocks. Let's have a look at Tahir Mirza, shall we? Googling the name throws up Mirza Tahir Ahmad, the fourth caliph and the head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya community. Not a good sign. Aha, here he is. I've found him. Tahir Mirza for East Ham. Let's have a look. Okay, that picture looks a little bit close to this one. Again, not a good sign. Let's dig into some of his politics, shall we? Save your humanity, don't save your job. Why not become a full-time activist in Gaza? Excellent advice for any hard-working constituents. That is definitely going to help grow the economy and feed your kids and pay your mortgage. Cheers to here. Cheers. 15 members of the John Deere family remain trapped under the rubble after being bombed by Israelis. Okay, yet another one. Oh, Gaza, yeah. Not very close to East Ham, but I can see the appeal. Netanyahu, shameful, war criminal. Middle East Eye. US under fire for Israel's killing of Palestinian. Gaza. Egypt. Online. If you're online, say I mean. Israel has the right to withhold power and water. We will remember this. We will never let you forget. Big win for Palestine. Is there anything about London? Oh, here we are. He lied to farmers. So there we go. I mean, there's only a few dozen stories about Palestine and Gaza before you get to something related to the UK. And a lot of full-blown religious zealotry as well. So, to sum up, the independent, not really independent if you're completely wholly indoctrinated by a very disturbing Bronze Age religious ideology, the independent being touted by the left, a left-wing alternative, is actually a deeply, deeply religious, monotheistic conservative who only ever talks about the problems assailing Gaza and Palestine. That is apparently a left-wing alternative to Stephen Timms. So I'm loving this. I've talked about this loads. 10 years ago, on principle, I would have always defended the likes of Jess Phillips and Stephen Timms and all the rest of them. But at this point, I have no sympathy for the useful idiots. When Sheep Teeth Phillips gets violently ousted from her own constituency by 50 blokes with big beards and blunt items, I'm not going to defend Jess Phillips, because if you were merely a useful idiot, maybe I could feel some pity for you. But when you're a rank misandrist, political ideologue and shrieking harpy, I've got no sympathy for you. In fact, out of spite, I might convert just for a day so I can nip in to the local Bell End-shaped church when I go home and visit Birmingham. I'll grow my beard out and wear a turban for a little bit, and I'll nip in just so I can point at her and say, "Listen, Jezebel, I want 3 sugars in that cup of tea. If it's not stirred 50 times, so it's all dissolved, and it's got the perfect ratio of milk to tea, you're going to get a bath, love. And there's nothing you can do about it, because, I'm in charge now, because I'm a very, very left-wing follower of a deeply conservative religious ideology. So suck on it." Unlucky, Jess. Unlucky. Anyway, that's my video for the day. Please feel free to go and check out the X page, Stats for Lefties. It is the most unironically hilarious example of cognitive dissonance that I've ever seen in my entire life. They've even got the old trans flag on the profile page, whilst promoting full-blown Bronze Age theocrats. And we know what they think of that community. Just think of it. Can you imagine trying to smoke bloke in the middle of the Gaza Strip? That's the only place a man can go anywhere near a cock in that entire region is Israel. So to see these people promoting genocidal hatred while calling themselves lefties, Stats for Lefties, it's just unending hilarity. So I'll put the link in the description. Feel free to doom scroll the page, chuckling as you go, and have a good time doing it. All right, I'll see you all soon. Thanks for tuning in. Toodle pip. Cheers.